That thing is so daggone annoying, and now they'll play it outside of their hotel. Watch, we'll end up screwing.
It is pretty cool. I mean, obviously I've been on the opposite side of the Vikings forever, so and I've enjoyed it. But that's a pretty cool symbol of. You got to appreciate that in sports. You got to give the other guys some kudos when it's it's pretty cool though. But I do think it's annoying because you always hear it at the wrong times. You know what I mean?
That was a few years ago with. I know it's awful. I can't even play Madden because of that thing. I have to put the game on.
Do you have a PS4?
Back when I did play, Matt, I'm an adult, so I don't play video games like the rest of you. I'm a 41. Let's bring in the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'd have to say that was a pretty good filibuster. It must be a slow morning.
I thought it was like a great professional radio tie-in, but let's let the.
No, I was talking about my old piece. My goodness.
Well, we were going to ask you about the Viking horn anyway, and then we're like, I think we already asked them about it because y'all play every daggone year. And we imagine you still feel the same way.
Oh, definitely. I mean, this is 3 years in a row going up there, and last year was Halloween night. It was a great crowd. We're obviously expecting maybe the same type of crowd, but maybe take it up a notch or two. So this is going to be probably. I would have to say this is probably the loudest opponent venue that we'll play in all year.
Did you did you ever play video games? Were you a big video game guy?
Yeah, I was huge into video games, and I gave them up when Atari went out. So
Atari,
yeah. Were you in television? Remember in television? Remember that one?
Oh yeah, that was a huge deal. The game Pong, going back and forth. But no, that's when it started. But yeah, you got to remember my father owned a bar, so he had a few video games in there. So
what was the Mike McCarthy high score in what game at the bar?
I couldn't tell you. Okay. Centipede was the one he had.
Yes.
So yeah, I was on the pool table. I spent most of my time on
the pool table. Did you have your own stick, though? Did you walk in with your own stick?
No. Guys in Pittsburgh didn't have their own sticks.
Mike McCarthy here on Sean and RJ 105.3 The Fan. Did you check out the Packer game last night? We were just wondering if you were like fans as you're watching that, obviously through a Cowboys lens, doing a little compare and contrast since y'all just faced them.
No, I did not. We had it on here at work, so it was kind of going in and out. And I left here probably midway through the fourth quarter, so I didn't really watch the game. I was aware of the score and so forth, but it looked like it was a good, well played game.
Good game
for Tennessee.
Yeah. For Tennessee. For the Titans, it was. Coach, what have you known? What have you seen differently from Minnesota this year than the last two times you would have played them? New coach and everything like that.
Well, I mean, you got to remember. I mean, they're well coordinated in the past. There, with Gary Kubiak and Mike Zimmer. So you see a lot of carryover that way as far as defense. There's a lot of experience. This is probably one of the most experienced defenses that will play. They play high discipline, a lot of vision. You can see that in their takeaways. So they do a great job of matching your routes and jumping your concepts. Offensively, it's a little bit more like the Rams. You can see Kevin is leaning more that way as far as what he's running. But they've always been they were the same way under Gary with the outside zone. So there's definitely carryover there. Delvin Cooks obviously makes that thing go. But I really like their perimeter group. I think it's an excellent group all the way through. And Justin Jefferson's playing at a tremendously high level, and you carry it over to special teams because of the experience they have on defense. They do have some, and they've always been built that way up there personnel wise. So they've always had a good teams unit because of the emphasis they put on the team. So this is a good football team playing well. They're playing good complementary football, which we feel has been the strength for us most of the year too. So I think it's going to be an excellent game.
Does their offensive identity still start with Dalvin, or have they kind of shifted it to revolve around Jefferson now?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, and this is more the way I look at it, and I can't speak because you're not totally into it. But I think Kirk Cousins playing as well as I've seen him play. His consistency is and his efficiency is, they're both very high. So I've always felt that you always build around the quarterback, and I think that's still the case because they're able to get into the run action, drop back game. They don't have to tilt heavily one way or the other just because because the quarterback gives you that. So, but yeah, ball distribution, definitely going to Cook and Jefferson as their primary, but they got Thielen, they got TJ, and so this is a well balanced offense. But the premier ball distributors are definitely Cook and Jefferson.
Did you see this out of Jefferson when you were looking at him coming out of college?
I mean, it's just like anything. When you go through the draft process, it's nice when you're dead on. Well, we had him and CD. We thought those guys were just he reminded me so much of Greg Jennings, with his body control and so forth. But he's bigger, stronger, and and his competitive nature is extremely high. So we were very high on Justin.
Mike McCarthy here with Sean and RJ every Friday, 105.3 The Fan. Last matchup, Diggs held him down. How do you see those two matching up, Coach? Why may Jefferson be a nice matchup for Trayvon based upon the great performance Diggs had last year?
Well, I mean, I think it's like anything. I mean, Trayvon, you could see last week that there wasn't one ball thrown his way. So when you I know Aaron had great respect for him, and you're seeing it more and more. People keep talking about him. His numbers are down, but frankly they're up because he's not people are going away from him. So that counts for something too from a value standpoint. But yeah, I think Trayvon's ability to go inside and outside, because you have to be able to do that to play Justin, because they play him all over the place. So. But I think they're a good matchup because they both have length, great athletes, and both have exceptional ball skills.
What's the biggest difference you've seen in a positive way in Trayvon's game from last year, Coach? Obviously, he was one of the top topics of the league, and now it feels like he's even better. How? Well,
I just think you're seeing a young player that's still ascending. I mean, this is year 3 for him. I mean, he's obviously had a good, a nice rookie season. Definitely has, had the huge year last year with the interceptions. But I just think his game is so much more well-rounded. Anticipation and his recognition. He's just going to keep building up that bank account of video, awareness, instincts, all those things that come with these great athletes. The longer they're in this thing, that the smarter and more recognition that they have, and so I just think you're watching Trayvon climb the ladder in that area.
Coach, people were having early debates about your defense being great and elite and maybe special. Does it feel like the defense has been regressing a little bit as of late?
Well, it's just like anything. We sit around here and you look at week in and week out. With the strengths and weaknesses. I mean, you have to have a place to attack every defense, and really the complement of an exceptional defense is you got to run right at them, because you're reducing the time clock for the play. It stresses their ability and really keeps them out of what all great defenses have to have, and that's the ability to get after the quarterback. I mean, we don't talk about great defenses in today's game that can't go rush the passer. So, this is the way you neutralize, excellent defense is running the ball right at them. And right now, we're seeing a ton of wide zone, which tells us we got to be better at setting our edges and so forth. And the lead run Minnesota, no matter who they play, they're going to run wide zone. That's their offense. So. So the ability to toss cracks, jet sweeps, the wide zones, and then, obviously the misdirection that comes off of that. So we got to get back, and we got to knock them back. We got to get knocked back inside. We got to get these edges set.
Coach, it looked like Micah was, playing, back to his more linebacker role last week. Was that game plan specific, or is that kind of how you prefer to have him?
It was really based on what we thought Green Bay was going to do, and run the ball. I mean, we knew going into the game that they're going to run the football. That's what was disappointing about the result of that. But his ability off the ball and run defense is that's definitely a strength of his. His ability to run and hit. I mean, you're talking about that man that he not only runs 4.3, but he plays at that level. So, but that's something that you look at every week. Where can he impact the game best?
Mike McCarthy here on the Diamond Factory Hotline here on Sean and RJ 105.3 The Fan. Every week we like to get a football education from you when it comes to a point of discussion. And this week it's the option route based upon the Packer game. Can you just explain to us, Coach, as simply as you can, the complexity of option routes, why they're so difficult to stop and why they're so difficult to execute?
Well, it's just like anything in football. You're tying every route, in an offensive play, but you're tying every route to the quarterback's feet. And the option route is the exception because, the quarterback is the decision maker where the ball goes. And, when you have, a route adjustment that just has, one option at the breaking point of the route. So, but the option route gives you the ability to, it gives you three options. You can hook it up, you can break it to the left, you can break it to the right. So, based on the defense and how they defend that, they're going to play with some form of leverage to play to their help of the rest of the coverage unit. So the ability to break away from that leverage, is an excellent advantage for the offensive player on option routes. So, but just like anything, you got to make sure that the technique at the top of the route is critical because you can't telegraph the option route because now you're giving the ability to the defender to really to settle and get your hip pocket. So, and you got horizontal option routes, which is I think the one you're referring to, and then you do have vertical option routes too. So it's a route that takes more timing because you can see the quarterback, his feet have to be really in position with his cleats in the ground as far as being ready to have to have the weight distributed to throw the ball still with some anticipation. And it's really the body language of the route runner is critical because he's got to be able to talk to the quarterback, with his body language.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
a lot.
It's a good explanation. And, fans watch the game and they see an interception. It's like, oh, it's the quarterback's fault.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. But, how often, do quarterback and receivers see the coverage differently? And how common is that?
That's a great question. That's a question of the year. I get some applause there. No, that was excellent. No, that's exactly that's the challenge of the route, and that's why. And if you go back through the history of offensive systems in the NFL, you have your two main ones that have been in this league for decades. You had the West Coast offense versus the digit system, and the West Coast offense, you never ran option routes. You never ever took the decision making out of the quarterback's hands. Everything was dictated on the quarterback, knowing exactly where the route was going to break. The precision and timing of the route running and the quarterback's footwork were going to be better than any coverage. And then you got the digit system, which has a more vertical component to it, but also had the option routes in it. So, I think today's game, you see most offenses are more scheme driven. They're more play driven. That's just the way this league's gone. But I'm still very systematic in the offensive approach. So I think you have to have both the West Coast principles and the digit system.
Mike McCarthy here on Sean and RJ. Coach, it kind of blew up as a topic when Jerry came on a couple weeks ago. Grass versus turf. Players are speaking out. Where do you stand on this issue?
Well, I mean, what issue are you talking about? I mean, I think you got really two different topics. I think if you ask anybody that's played on these surfaces, I think it's clearly you prefer to play on grass. But you don't want to mix that with the other challenge of how these stadiums are built and all the other things are going on too. No one wants to talk about that part of it. But yeah, I definitely prefer grass. I think it's through my studies, coaching on a team that was grass. I mean, it's I just think football's is preferably played on grass. So I definitely have a preference for grass.
Last one, and I saved it in case you hung up on us, but just to be honest, we're Pittsburgh straightforward here. My only criticism of you, Coach, comes after the game. If you go with the officials and I say, are you taking accountability off of the players with all the mistakes that cost the game in itself? How do you balance that? Or can you just do both? Will you go in the film room and you assess it while also saying that you weren't happy with some of the calls that are made?
Well, I think the reality of it is it's really emotional discipline, frankly, in those spots. It has nothing to do with accountability, because we can't control the officials, never have tried to, and we go through every penalty and just really use it as a learning experience. There's education and prevention techniques that you continue to try to emphasize. I have to do a better job here, so this is something that's really the focus. But I'm not going to lie to you. You get up there, on the podium after the game, and those emotions are still fresh.
Yeah.
So, but we've never lost a game because of officiating. I think you have to train that way. They're just excuses. But do you make comments, of frustration? Yeah, I think that's normal. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody wants you to be real and honest, and then when you do, they get, you don't like the way, or if it's convenient to twist it to make a topic. I mean, that's, that goes on too. So I think you just got to be aware of all that. So, but yeah, I think our team's very accountable to our performance each and every week, and I think that's a strength of ours.
Coach, thank you so much for the time. Last week, we were thinking of our Friday visits when the broadcast said that you had, finally worked some real hours like us, waking up at 4 a.m. and shooting basketball and 3 cups of coffee. And we said, hey, finally sees the Sean and RJ struggle. So congratulations on that, Coach, and good luck in Minnesota.
Well, I just have to say you guys have totally inspired me to do that. So
sure.
Please keep it up.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, man. Take care.